we want to inform you guys on something that I believe many Americans actually experience. And Hank, I didn't tell you this, but one of our mutual colleagues is actually in a similar situation, but it is for one of their trading accounts, essentially. Yeah. So real quick, just so you guys know, to paint the picture, whenever someone has whenever someone has large sums of money into various accounts, many accounts, when you try to extract or take or withdraw that money out, what happens? You get smacked in the face by a leather glove called taxes. Okay.
And fees.
And more fees and penalties and interest too.
Correct. Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, Hank, what do you see here? What's your take on this?
When I first I saw this, and I'm going like, how can that be? And then I started to read it, and I said, here's some people who took the advice, and I'm not beating up on financial planners, or they may have done things themselves because they read something and thought that they were smarter than the experts. Mm-hmm. But either way, they did what they thought were the right things to do to create wealth, get ahead, and then have it protected, which is all well and good. They did all of that. However, they can't touch it. So there are the federal government puts age requirements or limitations on a lot of retirement plans, investment strategies, all that other stuff. And the financial planner will encourage you to make more and more money to invest in 401ks and mutual funds and the stock market and all this other stuff. And I don't think that they explain to you some of the consequences of accumulating all of this wealth. Because from my biased views, they just want to manage your assets.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right. So basically, they force you into keeping it into an account, and you cannot touch this money without having a heavy tax penalty, right? Penalty and burdens of doing so. And for most American, and this is crazy because we talked about the scenario I think earlier in the week, where this is actually the cycle that most Americans find themselves in financially. They sock away so much money into their 401ks, into their IRAs, whatever it is.
Correction. Most Americans?
I'm being kind by saying most.
I would say many Americans because most Americans can't accumulate that kind of wealth.
By saving, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, by saving. Most Americans are not making $250,000 a year.
True.
Okay.
But this applies. I'll say it to any American, right?
Okay. All right. Okay. That's fine.
So
okay.
And so I'll say this, just using a regular timeline. Someone graduates high school, they're 18 normally, right? Everyone's in it's already an anomaly. Someone graduates high school, they're 18. They go into the workforce. Let's say immediately they open a 401k from year one. And let's pray to God that they're able to work at the same company for the next 40 years of their life. Mm-hmm. Now, the average American who makes contributions to the 401k or IRA, et cetera, they basically attribute somewhere between like $5,000 a year. All right. Annually.
The average. That's right. The average. Okay.
So let's say at the end of the 40 years, they have $200,000 in their IRA, the 401k.
Only.
Correct. Okay. Only. And let's also say this person has been able to earn somewhere between $50,000 to $60,000 every single year. All right. Every single year, their income has not dropped whatsoever.
I see where you're going.
So what happens now? Because at the 40th year, their company wants them to retire.
No,
right?
forces them to. They reorganize.
they restructure, as they say. That's
right. Oh, I'm sorry. I forget.
They restructure, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So now that person is out of a job, but
how old are they?
They happen to be 58 years old,
or less,
or 48. In this prime example, the wife is 48.
Okay.
In this exact example, right? Yeah. So now someone's 40, someone's in their late 40s.
Mm-hmm.
They're no longer working at that job, and they think to themselves, you know what? I've been stashing away in this little stockpile that I have. I should be pretty good.
Yeah, got a nice little nest egg. But see, here's the thing. These individuals were ready to retire. At least this is what the article says.
Per the RV, right?
Right. But there are a number of individuals who get pushed out, not anticipating retirement, and are now thrust in, and they're trying to find another job that pays what these guys were making annually. And they realize the fact that they can't do it. So now they're forced to say, okay, I need to tap into my retirement.
Correct.
Because they can't draw social insecurity because they're not old enough. So what do you do?
You're too old to work for your current for the former employee or employer, excuse me. You're too young to access your retirement account. You're too young to receive Social Security. So what do? You probably go to, most of these guys they go to Walmart and they begin as a greeter. I'm not trying, and this is just what I have seen.
Or they go find someone who's willing to give them a personal loan because they have a financial statement that looks pretty good, pretty promising.
Or they work somewhere where they can get paid under the table.
Yes.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So now they basically end up pinching the best they can.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Now, and that's the market. But I'm sitting here, Leland, and I'm thinking there's a different type of solution for anyone who might see themselves in this particular situation. But for them, it's too late. They got to face that particular music, and
they got to dance with the partner that brought them.
Yeah, well, because if they decide to bite the bullet and take everything out, they're going to pay heavy fees and heavy taxes. And then if they try, they're going to be faced with those regardless of how much they take out, because they're, quote, they're age ineligible.
Every time.
Man.
Every time.
They got to find another job.
But the thing is,
they don't want to.
No. The art. Listen, the RV living, that's the future. Okay, people love that stuff. All right. I mean, hey, who needs to?
You said RV?
RV, yeah.
Yeah, but these people can't live in an RV. They can't. I mean, how they gonna buy it? Because all their money is in the market.
Offer credit. That's it.
That's absolutely correct. They can. Yeah, but they're not making enough money to make the credit card payment.
Well, no one thinks that far. No one thinks that far.
But because they thought they were insulated. Okay. They thought they were insulated, and I would tell individuals that if you are participating in your company's retirement plan, continue to do that. Max it out, but you need to start planning now, creating an exit strategy for when you decide to walk out the door of that company, or they escort you out. Actually, you know what? They do escort you out. When they get rid of you, they walk it, they take your keys and they have security to walk you out.
It take that badge, for sure.
Man, they make you feel like a common criminal.
They give you a box, huh? They give you a box with two
hands.
Oh
no. You may not take anything out. They'll send it to you.
Oh, that's true. They will do that.
Yes, indeed. I mean, they confiscate everything. But let's get back to this. You know, they said, these people amassed a lofty nest egg. Something else. I hope they have a will or a trust.
Probably not.
You would think that they do.
Probably not. Because the cool thing, guys, is if someone chooses to structure the trust correctly, you can receive payments from the trust. You can't receive payments from your 401k or IRA.
Correct.
Not without penalty. You can't receive payments from that. And what's so weird to me is people have to be careful with calling something an asset if you can't. I don't. For me personally, in order for something to be an asset to me, it has to be something that I can leverage. Mm-hmm. And it has to be something that can give me money. That can give me money. If in my 401k I invest in Apple pays me a dividend. Well, that dividend goes to my 401k. Maybe, right? Maybe. Whenever they choose, right?
Right.
Whenever I have to upgrade my phone, they give me a dividend. So now one may think, hey, I just got $500 of a dividend from Apple from all my shares. Yeah, but you can't pay your bills with that today. You can't pay your bills with that a week from now. You can't pay your bills with that until you're 59 and a half, so 62 and a half, right? That's the problem. So you can't really say that's truly an asset if it's not going to be able to go ahead and put cash at your disposal. Like, do you have access to it? And that's the problem here. They don't have any access. They're shot.
I'm just doing some quick math. These individuals are in there, like the wife is 48. Mm-hmm. Okay. They're 1.6 million before taxes and penalties and interest and all that other stuff. If their lifestyle, I think somewhere in there was say 70 to 80,000 a year.
Yeah.
Their money might last for 20 years. However, the older they get, then they'll be faced with something called healthcare. Healthcare costs. Whew. And heavens forbid if they go into a facility where they need 24 hours care, they're looking at about 80 grand a year.
80 grand a year. Easy.
So there are a lot of confluences that people need to consider and start to protect themselves against early on in the process. And there's no such thing as I can't afford. I've learned, my dad says, son, you're going to pay me now or
pay for a later.
But either way,
still going to pay me.
You're going to pay the piper. And I mean, and as we said at the onset, this is funny, but it's sad. It's sort of like people who have no money. Some of them can live better than people who have some money.
Yeah.
Because for those who call themselves middle class, you may be faced with a situation that you need Uncle Sam's support, but you make too much money. Or you're in a situation where you don't make any money, you can get support. So we have to guard against, and we can't be hating on anybody who falls into the category where they need to be subsidized.
Right.
That's the system that we live in. Because one day you could be there. So
The thing
how
about it,
well
the thing that's so crazy about it, it's crazy because whenever someone has a stockpile in their 401k,
mm-hmm,
you could always, sure, could you borrow against that? Sure.
sure,
But then you're going to have issues there too if you don't repay it.
correct.
So when you finally get access to it, and let's, you talk about the middle class. Let's say that person is earning 40, 50,000 a year. They've stockpiled $5,000 a year, right? When they hit that 40th year, they'll have 200, give or take $200,000 in that account.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they're no longer with that company, immediately most people say, "Hey, I'm gonna go travel the world. I'm gonna see the world. I'm gonna travel. I'm gonna go to Dubai with my friends, right? I'm gonna see the world."
Mm-hmm.
They do that, and then they start to notice, like, oh my goodness, nothing else is actually feeding or putting into that account. So now I either have to live the next 4 years off of my account, because then it will be depleted. That's only
Mm-hmm.
4 years of quote unquote retirement.
Mm-hmm.
That happened. That's a legit thing that happens to people. Or they say immediately to themselves, I have to come out of retirement and get a full-time job elsewhere. That is what many Americans do.
Well, I know, and they thought they had it done correctly. So I'm just sitting here thinking that if they knew going in that they could have created a solo 401k or a self-directed IRA, even though they were making contributions, still make contributions to your in the employer-based retirement plan. But if they had put some of that money into a self-directed or solo,
Absolutely. Yep.
then they would be able to use that money to generate more money, thereby, depending on the type of investments they make, reduce their tax liability, so that when it's time to really draw down the money that they have in the company sponsored retirement plan,
Yep.
they can do it without enormous penalties and be dumb, fat, and happy.
Just about. Absolutely. Just about.
And just about. And
Because
then we don't have to worry about looking for loopholes or shenanigans, or talking to our clever cousin, who gets us to do something that cost us the entire nest egg.
The entire nest egg. What's sad about this is that they're obviously doing what they were told to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and they're doing what they thought was in their best interest.
Yes.
Accounts like solo 401k, self-directed IRAs, even ROBs, so rollover business startup accounts, those don't cost more than what someone's already doing.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, perfect strategy for someone to use. They could have taken the existing retirement account that they have with a employer,
Mm-hmm.
done what's called a ROB, right? ROB. Guys can look it up, and they could have then taken that to buy a business, something that's not on the stock market, something that's not something they'll have control over.
Can do what now?
To buy a business.
A business.
That's correct. A business. They could they could have bought one of those. Wow. And we were just, and earlier today, we just had a great meeting with a gentleman who actually helps physicians and dentists and veterinarians purchase different medical practices, right? People have to understand that the best way to accelerate your wealth and also lower your tax liability is by purchasing and owning things that have equity, not the stock market. Those are fictitious equities. Those are derivatives. But equity, as far as maybe a piece of real estate that has equity, maybe a business that has equity. These things give you tax advantages, and they also accelerate your wealth. They could easily do that and then not have to worry about a huge penalty.
Leland, I'm sitting here thinking, not to get you off track. This couple was earning over $200,000 a year between the two of them.
Right. Yep.
And we know some professionals who are probably earning that kind of money a year,
if not more.
And the question would be, where are they parking it? You can't park it in a bank account and let the bank sit on your cash and pay you 0.001% interest.
Whew.
So if you got a lot of money in a savings account someplace, you are paying the bank to keep your money.
To keep your money.
And you say to yourself, well, I don't want to take any risk. You're taking a lot of risk because the bank is getting 8-10% on your money,
if not more.
You're paying the bank to hold on to your money. I'm not saying take your money out of the bank. I'm just saying you need to do some reflection here. Correct.
And the thing and I love that, because the thing that with this couple here, they're either going to have to buckle down and weather the storm, right? Or they can be proactive. So they can be reactive or proactive. Normally, when you're reactive, that means you're already, already behind, right? Mm-hmm. But to be reactive, or excuse me, to be proactive, what they could do without issue is they could say to themselves, you know what? With where we are, we're probably going to end up working anyway. Mm-hmm. We thought that we could retire, but obviously we're going to end up working anyway. Why don't we go ahead, do one of the ROBs, the rollover accounts, purchase a business or start a franchise, whatever it may be, right? Whatever they desire. They start that franchise. They can then open up another retirement account if they choose to, right? Based on their age, called a solo 401k. That solo 401k will allow both the husband and the wife to make dual or double contributions. They'll be able to make contributions as employees of their new business, and also as the employer of the new business.
I'm thinking, will my CPA advise me as such, or my
heavens no, never.
My financial planner. Well, I mean, people. What we're trying to say is, all of those are well-intended individuals that they are marching us to the slaughter.
Easy.
With good intentions. And most of us don't know enough. We are unwilling to read enough, research enough to take control of our lives.
That's right.
Okay.
To actually have assets that you have more control over. And what's crazy is you mentioned the CPA and the financial planner. The thing about it is that financial planners primarily need really to have your assets under management or under control.
Right.
That's basically how it works.
Now, we're not hating on financial planners.
No, but we're just telling the truth.
Right.
So,
okay. All right. Make certain, just in case some of the people that listen are financial planners, we ain't hating on you, brother. Sister.
No, not at all. Okay. But what we are saying is this: if someone's is going to use that tactic of putting their money into the stock market, mutual funds, bonds, right, things like that, great. But I will tell you this: because something is in a bond or whatever else, you're able to defer your taxes with your mutual funds based on my IRA has this, blah blah. You can defer your taxes, but that's a deferment. That's not a tax benefit. That's a deferment, and there is a difference between a tax deferment and a tax benefit, and people don't really understand that there's a difference.
But Leland, but my planner told me that to protect my assets here, I need to buy some more insurance.
Sure, you can buy more insurance,
Okay.
but you need to make sure that it's structured properly. I'm gonna give everyone an example. You buy, you have a $1 million life insurance policy. All right, in this example, everyone has $1 million life insurance policy, and you're thinking about the fact that, okay, when I pass away, my immediate heirs, family, whoever, right, is gonna obtain this money. But what people aren't thinking about is how, if or when, the new tax bill is passed of estate taxes being 45% federally. Okay, that may be an additional 5, 10.
That is right. That is right.
That may be additional 5 or 10% when it comes to your estate too. So you're looking at 50, maybe 60%, worst case scenario for estate taxes. Now, in your mind, you did a good job because you have a $1 million policy that they get the cash in on, but they're not getting $1 million. That's not what they're getting. They have to cut that in half. So the advice that was given, sure, that's good advice. But the issue is, it's the execution that's always most important. I can ask Steph Curry for the best jump shot possible, and he can tell me all the great pointers. But if I have poor execution in that process, it's not going to matter. And that's the same thing with a lot of these things. The execution is what is lacking, and it gets so much. It makes me sad. Whenever you drive around and you see these little signs, right, on the side of the road, and it says estate sale, right? Estate sale. You think
I've seen a few.
I've seen a lot.
I've gone to some trying to get a deal.
Me too. I've gone to estate sales looking to buy property, looking to buy antiques, looking to buy collectibles. I have done it too. When someone has an estate sale, it's either ordered by the court, or it's done because they need to qualify for, I believe it's called Medicaid, if I'm not mistaken. Medicaid for
yes, it is. Yes,
Medicaid. Okay,
for government subsidy.
Government subsidy. Which people need to realize is that when most people become older and they move into a senior living facility, they have to qualify to get a reduced rate because senior living facilities are expensive. They're not cheap. They're expensive. And depending on the type of care, the quality, the staff, the medicine that's administered, all these different things, they're expensive. So unless you out of your inheritance or out of the whatever checkbook, if you want to pay, I don't know, that rate on a monthly basis, go right ahead. But most people want to qualify for some kind of assistance through Medicaid, right? Now, in order to do this, Medicaid needs your net worth to be at a certain level. That net worth number is pretty low. So then they have to do what's called a spin down. And that's when you see all of these different signs for estate sales. They're having to say, hey, grandma's book was worth X amount, but we sold it at the estate sale for $5.
So you have to account for everything.
You have to account for everything. And sometimes, and this happens for those who are, qualified for Medicaid. It also happens for those who have essentially pass away as well. But it can be sidestepped. It can be avoided if or when someone structures the proper trust. When they have the right creation of their trust, you can couple that with the will, of course. You can still couple that with life insurance if you want. You can couple that with all kinds of different things, but the execution has to be correct. Correct.
What I'm sitting here thinking, as you were talking, is advice comes at a cost.
Absolutely.
But the lack of advice comes at an enormous cost.
And in economics, we call some of these things opportunity cost.
Yes.
Too. For example, someone who's listening to us right now, right, live recording, we have just given them amazing tactics on what to do to not only accelerate their wealth, but also to protect it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if someone doesn't have the correct execution, or if someone doesn't even take advantage of the advice that's given,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to cost them more in the future than today. They may
now
not realize the cost.
Yeah.
Exactly. They may not realize the cost as they're listening,
Mm-hmm.
but in the future, they're going to say, "Oh, I do have to pay that. I didn't think about. My advisor didn't tell me that.
You know, I was just sitting here thinking. People out there listening, and we haven't introduced ourselves with initials behind our names and stuff that supposedly gives us credibility. So they'll either question what we're telling them, or they'll go talk to somebody who does not have a vested interest in their well-being. Because see, we're providing what kind of advice? How much are we charging them for this advice today?
Hold on. I'm counting.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You're right.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So today you're getting free advice. And we've tried to make this presentation entertaining. But everything that we're this at the beginning, this couple's situation is unbelievable. But it's very believable because it happened.
It's to a lot of people every day.
Often. So the question will be, if you're in their predicament as far as investments, you still got time. But you got to reach out to the right people to develop an exit strategy or a survival strategy. Because if you continue to go in the direction that you're going, you're going to end up where you're headed. Okay, so don't look for quote credentials, validation of who we are. But just remember, we're telling you something today that you haven't heard before. And then you need to ask yourself, well, why haven't I heard that? Well, why hasn't someone said this, that, and the other to me? And I think you can answer that question for yourself. And we just want to say, listen, there's time. But if you don't act, you will run out of time.
You will run out of time.
And my dad used to tell me all the time, he said, boy, he said, I want you to get to a place in life where you say, I'm glad I did versus I wish I had.
That's it. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for your time. Be sure to go to the website there at the bottom, sagmethod.com, www.sagmethod.com, and we will see you all on the next video.
Hey, I'll challenge them to go. I will just challenge it. Just go seek for yourself, because the thing is this information costs you nothing. But if you do nothing, it'll cost you a lot.
It'll cost you everything.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't do it and you pass away, the government will still go after something called estate tax.
And the family going to take care of it.
That's correct. So if you don't act, this costs you everything.
Everything. That's right. It could. This has been fun.
Yeah, and you know what? And we're helping people. It's the God honest truth.
Absolutely. So that's all we're trying to do.
Just
little. We just call them little golden nuggets of success. That's all in life.
See you guys on the next one.